So onwards and upwards, we're going to start blasting through a large part of our end of month agenda. And that, of course, is our road on entrepreneurship. So quick definition for anyone and everyone. If you feel that you're not qualified to have aspirations to be an entrepreneur, think again. Take a look at the definition. One who manages and assumes, organizes, manages and assumes the risk of a business or empire. And that's exactly what you're doing when you join CFX. That's exactly what you're doing when you gain the confidence to reach out and share a video or speak with a friend about what you're doing. You're becoming an entrepreneur. And so one of the main purposes of these end of month meetings, month after month after month, is to take you by the hand and help you walk down this path so that you're starting to gain more skill, starting to gain more confidence, and starting to gain more ability in your journey to be a fully fledged entrepreneur, regardless of your age, regardless of your sex, regardless of your previous experience, regardless of your degree of education and schooling. None of it matters. In fact, some of your most favorite entrepreneurs famously dropped out of whatever programs that they were taking in whatever universities around the world. So there are no prerequisites for success other than your desire to be successful. So that qualifies everybody on this call, everybody that's watching on YouTube, and everybody that watches this recording at any time. All right, so what we're going to talk about, though, is we're going to talk about strategies to increase your mathematical chances of being successful. And one of the best ways to learn how to be successful is to screw up in your attempts of being successful. And where I happen to be an expert is in screwing up. I've made probably a bottomless pit is the length of the list with which I've made mistakes. Fortunately, I have a couple of things going for me. One of this is that I learned from those mistakes, and my desire to free myself financially was so great that when I felt the desire to throw my pen in the air and walk away from whatever it was I was doing, I had to come back to the table because I did not want to work for anyone for any reason at any time. And so I want to focus on those things with you as well. So there is a system in place that can greatly increase your percentage chances of being successful. And so we really want to take a commonsensical approach to how we pursue this. Now, there are some things that we've covered in end of month events already, and one of them is goal setting. So the first thing one needs to, of course, identify is what it is that you want to accomplish. And remember, we talked about goal setting and how important it is to set goals in a variety of different areas and how important it is to set lofty goals. You want to challenge yourself, and at the same time, you also want to be setting goals that you can realize, that you can reach, that you can achieve. So you're starting this pattern of success, and you're sending this subliminal and also very conscious message to yourself that not only can you set a goal, but you can achieve goals that you're setting for yourself. The next, of course, was where we started reaching out through a variety of social media tools to identify what friends that we wanted to share CFX with. Now, the third thing we're going to be talking about today is connecting with those individuals. So this is the area that probably causes the most anxiety for most of you. And what we're going to do is break this components down into such a simple way that you're just going to watch your anxiety completely disperse. Of course, there are tools that are already in place for you to do that. And then we have a goal at the end of it, and that is for ourselves to become a mentor. And then over time for us to become a mentor making machine. And you'll start to see in the bonuses what exactly that does for you. But where we're going to be focusing today is in this third step where we're connecting to people. So let's get into it. Okay. So now, first and most important, there is a very significant misunderstanding of the most effective way to get involved, to be involved, and to build a network marketing business. There is an assumption with any network marketing business that the way you succeed is by selling things to people. And that's not actually correct. The way you succeed in a retail business is selling things to people, but that's not actually how you succeed in network marketing. The way you succeed in network marketing is teaching things to people. Now, here's the good news. The good news for most of you is teaching something to someone doesn't trigger the same anxieties. It doesn't have the same triggering fear response in you that selling something to someone does. So not only is teaching more productive, not only is teaching going to make you more money and get you to your goals more quickly, but it's also not going to cause you the type of anxiety and fear that selling things to people does. So for those of you who are new to network marketing, or for those of you who have been members of CFX for some time, and you're just now getting ready to decide that you want to share the platform with others, that you want to take advantage of the unilevel bonuses and the fast start bonuses and all the other bonuses that are triggered from those, well, this is going to be very good news to you. In other words, the process is going to be easier than you thought it was. It's not going to be scarier or harder than you thought it was. This is fact. This is not just my opinion, okay? This is factual. All right. So ultimately, when we focus on teaching something to someone else, essentially what we've done is we've replicated ourselves in them. And this is the foundation to where the big money is made in the network marketing space, which is to leverage yourself. So imagine if, for example, here's a very simple exercise. Imagine, for example, that you were building a platform, any platform, and that platform sold a physical product. And so what you've done is you got very good at endorsing that physical product, and you almost sounded like you were an expert in that particular space, and you sold 10 bottles of that physical product versus looking for 10 individuals that perhaps were looking to take control of their finances and of their quality of financial life. Now, the difference between those two actions is significant because at the end of the process, in the first category, you have 10 individuals consuming something. And in the second category, you have 10 individuals looking to replicate the same actions that you just took to improve their finances and dig into a rewards plan. See, people that buy things, they only sign on for buying things. They don't sign on for talking about or endorsing or selling those things to anyone else. And so this is why it's so important you understand that leverage, remember those financial principles we talk about, leverage is the most important of those financial principles on the rewards plan side of any network marketing company. And of course, in CFX, the very, very first step is becoming a mentor. And you can see, in fact, I'll go back one slide. Becoming a mentor is as simple as sharing CFX with 3 people. But here's where the magic starts to happen. Once you've shared CFX with 3 people and you shift your focus, 100% of your focus, even if your focus is only 3 or 4 hours a week that's available to you, you shift your focus to helping those 3 people do the same thing that you've just done. That's where you start to leverage yourself. That's where you start to fill your matrix up. And that's where all of the other bonuses start to come to you as well. Believe it or not, by becoming a mentor, by sharing CFX with 3 people and supporting and assisting them to do exactly the same thing, our special guest, Lee, who is a member of the President's Club, you can reach the President's Club simply by becoming a mentor and helping those 3 people do the same thing and ensuring that they follow that same pattern. That's it. That's all that's required, and time, of course, in becoming a member of the President's Club. Okay, so let's dig into it. This is the stuff we're going to focus on today. First of all, social media, how to use it and not abuse it. A very simple, systemized approach. In other words, scripting for sharing CFX. Success from home, the site, of course, that almost all of you are aware of. And if you're not aware of it, you'll be aware of it in just a couple of minutes. And then having a practice partner. Repetition, of course, being the mother of skill. We've been reading Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And you've also heard me quote many of other authors that are entrepreneurial minded. And repetition, 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 practice, practice, practice. So we're going to dig into all of these 4 bullet points. But first of all, let's talk about social media. So in this era especially, I probably am a little more of a dinosaur when it comes to social media than many members of CFX, because many of you grew up, you're younger than I am, and you grew up completely immersed in computers, completely immersed in your phone and living on that telephone 24/7. So this is something that's very normal for you. Where things are not going to feel normal for you is when you have to take that next step and actually connect with those people face to face or on a telephone call. But we'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, let's take a look at some posting. This is coming from Robert to Sue. So this is an individual just reaching out. He's just reaching out to a friend of his. Perhaps this is someone that he hasn't spoken with for a while. He's saying, hey, listen, hope all's all well with you and your family. Notice that in that post, there's no question at the end of it. So he's just making a message to Sue, and there's no imposition. There's no pressure on Sue to respond. But of course, Sue at some point does get back to him. Robert, wow, Robert, great to hear from you. It's been a while. Let's keep you busy, blah, blah, blah. And then Robert looks to do essentially is just book a time to get on a phone call with Sue. What you need to understand about social media when it comes to sharing CFX is many people initially try to rely on the least invasive, not for the other individual, but the least invasive for themselves when they're sharing CFX with anybody. And so you'll often hear people say, well, I've got a database of an email database. I'm just going to write an email and throw a couple links in there, fire that off. Well, that is, you've heard me talk about this before. That's essentially a waste of your time. In the busy world that everyone's completely immersed in today, I would say that virtually every single person receiving that email would ignore it. If you're lucky, maybe 0.1%, maybe 0.5% of people would click on the link, but still very rarely would you get a prompt from someone to reach out from something they've watched that way. The most effective way, the least amount of work and get the results that you're looking for is to be direct. And one of the biggest misconceptions people have is that they're being pushy or obnoxious when they're direct, but it's absolutely not true. There are very tasteful ways to ask for what it is that you want to ask for. This social media strategy, this is for those of you who have lost contact with some of your friends. This is specifically for people that have fallen out of that hot category and maybe into a medium category as far as contacts go. They're not cold market because you know them, they're friends of yours, but you haven't spoken with them for some time, which is why Sue is saying, hey, great to hear from you. It's been a while. So Robert didn't feel comfortable giving Sue a phone call and asking or using the script we're going to talk about in 30 seconds. Instead, what he decided to do was make contact, build a little bit of rapport with Sue, and then when he feels comfortable, then he's going to go ahead with the rest of the strategy. So there are some keys to success when it comes to social media. And the first is don't expect an immediate response. In fact, don't be disappointed if there's no response. What you need to understand, and over the past 20 years, and I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but there was a period where it was socially acceptable to not necessarily respond to every email you receive or not necessarily respond to every social media post, comment, or question that you receive. And it's just the way the world is now. And there's a large part of that is due to the fact that people are busy. So it's critically important as an entrepreneur that you learn to not take everything personally. If you send a post to someone and they don't respond, that doesn't necessarily mean that they wish that you were hit by a bus. They could simply be having a very busy life. And at the time the message got out, they didn't have time to get to it with the expectation fully of getting back to it later on. And then it's just simply slipped their mind. Okay. So remember, also short, light, and thoughtful. Really, you want to make this easy for others to want to reply to. Also, the sense that there's no sense of obligation or tension. This is why typically when I'm doing this strategy myself, I'm not asking questions. My very first comment is simply that it's a comment. I'm not pushing them to respond. So I'm just going to take a second and push some more people into the room. Okay. Also, don't push or rush. This is about building rapport. Building rapport sometimes takes time. We talked about mirroring and matching in the past, and it's important when it comes to mirroring and matching that you're following the tone and the timing and the energy of the person that you're communicating with. And then simply what you want to do is move this warm market into the hot market. In other words, move this into the category of people that you now feel comfortable calling and using the script for. Remember, the script is always the objective because the script is its most direct. Think of it this way. If every single person that you know is busy every minute of every day, the most direct and the shortest period of time of theirs that you can take, they will appreciate that greatly, but it's also going to give you the highest percentage return results. Okay. And this is, of course, going to work with any social media situation that happens to have a chat, whether it's Messenger or Instagram or WhatsApp or whatever the case may be. Okay. So from social media, remember, this is friends of yours you've lost contact with, you haven't spoken with for some time. You're simply looking through social media to bring them from sort of warm or lukewarm, because you haven't talked some time, to warm or hot, where you're feeling comfortable taking that next step, which is using the very simple but proven approach of scripting. Okay. So now many of you have asked for copy of this. We've blasted out various versions of this. Of course, the reason that there's not a hard copy floating around is there are key aspects to the script, and it's really important that you fill the gaps in with language that you're comfortable using. And the reason is Because when you're phoning people, now again, these are people you're comfortable calling. When you're calling someone that you're comfortable calling, you speak as you always speak. And so if you were to take something that I have written and read it verbatim, it's going to sound very strange. It's going to sound strange to you. It's going to make you feel awkward, and it's going to sound strange to your friend as well. So you paraphrase and you use language that's comfortable for you. But first of all, you can see this very first sentence. I'm reaching out to my friend Mark. I'm going to take a minute to catch up. I'm going to get updated, and then I snap the call to attention very easily. And that is, listen, the reason for my call is, I started working on a new project and I need a small favor. I need 10 minutes of your time. Would that be okay? That's it. That's all I'm looking for. And my friend, I'm trying to give you very realistic responses from what my friend would probably say. What do you need? In fact, I'm maybe being a little bit on the challenging side. And then I'd say, I need you to watch 10 minutes of videos. Can you do that? I'm being very direct, okay? Very clear in my articulation to my friend. Sure, I guess so. Do you have 10 minutes right now? Let's just get it done. Nope, I don't. Okay. This is something that all of you are going to get met with from time to time. So I thought I would throw that in there in this example. No problem. What's good? I'm going to reach out then. See, there's a temptation for you to send the link to CFX Success from Home, that corporate site that has the 3 marketing videos on it. There's going to be a temptation to send that to someone regardless of whether they have time now or not. And the challenge in doing that is you've taken a circumstance that was well within your control and you've given that control away. In this case, I would be giving control away to Mark. And let me role play one of the downsides of giving control away. So I send a link to Mark. Mark says, no, I don't have time right now, but I promise I'll get to it when I get a chance. No problem. I send Mark the link, cfxsuccessfromhome.com. And I wait a couple hours, 3 hours, and I'm really excited to hear what Mark has to say. I'm expecting big things, and I don't hear from Mark. So maybe I wait half a day. And then I call Mark again. He goes, oh, John, I'm really sorry, man. I had the intention of getting to it, and I just got really busy around the house. But just give me a couple hours, and I'll get to it. And what happens? Mark gets busy. It's normal. It happens every single day. So I perhaps call later that day, and I start feeling a little bit silly about it. Or perhaps I call the next day, and Mark says, oh, man, I'm really sorry. It was something I was planning on doing last night, and I just got distracted. So give me till this evening and I'll get it done. You call this evening and Mark hasn't had a chance yet. And now you're starting to take it personally. And there's nothing personal to take. Be an entrepreneur. Be a business person. Understand Mark's living a busy life. It's easy to get distracted. What's important to you is important to him, is not important to him. He doesn't know why you're excited yet. All he knows is you sent him a website. Okay, no problem. So this is why we don't give the link out unless our person says, yes, I have time now. Send me the link. And I say, no problem. I'm sending it to you. I'm going to call you back in 10 minutes. And I have a couple questions for you then. And the reason I say I've got a couple questions for you is because it's a homework assignment. My friend Mark can't fake watching the videos. He's got to watch them. I'm going to ask him questions about them. Okay. So I let him know. It's a simple website. There's 3 videos, right? I only need you to watch the first 2. One's 90 seconds. The other's 8.5 minutes, totaling 10 minutes. That's it. Call him back. So now he may say at that point, listen, what's this all about? So often when people are nervous, what do they start doing? They start talking. And so often when there's silences in conversations, they start filling the silence. And this is one of those important rules you're going to have to learn as an entrepreneur. So what I do while Mark's pushing for more information, why? So he doesn't have to spend 10 minutes watching videos. I give him a little bit of information. He can shut me down, and that's the end of it. It's normal. Don't take offense. It's the way everyone's going to be thinking. So what's this all about? Well, as I mentioned, I started working on a new project a couple of months ago. I also thought you'd appreciate it. If I'm wrong and it doesn't appeal, you're going to know after 10 minutes. You can tell me then. I'm cool with either answer. You like it, you don't, no problem. I told him nothing. He still has to watch the 10 minutes in videos, okay? So only send link when the commitment was made. Now, we're going to move from that script to actually the site itself. So for those of you who are new to CFX and your upline haven't told you about this yet, the URL for this site is cfxsuccessfromhome.com. cfxsuccessfromhome.com. And there was actually 2 pages to the site. And the second page is a bit of a tutorial on how to use the site. And the first is forward-facing information for guests of CFX, for members, for people you share the information with. Why? Because this way there's only one URL that you need to give out, but also there's only one URL for those that you're sharing CFX with to give out. So the idea, again, here's the advantage in a simple system. A simple system is easier to do, and therefore it's easier to teach. Remember, if leverage comes from teaching, not selling, you need to set the table to make it as easy as possible for those people that are going to follow in your footsteps to teach the same thing that they just learned. Do first, then teach. That's where exponential growth comes from. And that's where money and network marketing comes from. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. It doesn't come from selling things. Okay, that's it. So that's the website. So now my friend goes to the site, and in 10 minutes, what's going to happen? I'm going to call him back. Hey, Mark, were you able to complete both videos? I'm not going to leave it up to chance. And I'm also not going to take the chance that I called him early, that perhaps someone in the house asked for a favor and he's only halfway through video number 2. I'm going to ask him, were you able to complete them both? Okay. Yeah, I was able to complete them both. Okay. I just need a couple pieces of information from you. One, I need to know the one thing that you like the most. And I want to know the one thing that you like the least about the content in these videos. This is really important. And especially as a brand new person doing this, you are actually using some very advanced sales skills, some very advanced sales strategy. You're just using it in a very simple way. Because when you ask them what they liked the most and what they liked the least, you're doing two things. You're identifying what's motivating Mark, what his hot button is, and you're also identifying an obstacle or hurdle as well. It's important that you understand when you speak to any of your friends, if they look at any information at all, and there's an obstacle or hurdle that's preventing them from joining CFX, if you don't A, identify the obstacle, and B, help them around the obstacle, they will never join your business. And if you somehow push them or nag them into joining your business, they will never market or endorse your business. Okay? So identifying hot buttons and identifying hurdles are very advanced sales strategies, and you're managing to accomplish these things in one single sentence. That's very easy to do. And it simply takes practice to get exceptional at this. So you listen very carefully to Mark's responses. Now, 75 to 85% of the people you share this with are going to say something positive, something, and it gives you something to build on. So, Mark, it sounds like, so I'm making a supposition here. Mark has said something, and here's my follow-up statement. Mark, it sounds like you're at least curious on how you could get this platform earning for you as well. Now, remember, look at the language. I didn't say, hey, Mark, it sounds like you want to join. Or Mark, do you want to sign up? What I want to do is right after I identify Mark's hot button and Mark's hurdle, I want to get a positive response from Mark. Mark, it sounds like you're at least curious on how you could get this thing making money for you. Well, sure, I'm curious. It's a very easy affirmative response for him. Okay. And then I move forward from there. That's great to hear. I've got one last question then. I don't know how you've managed during the last 20 months. You can reference COVID, you can reference business closing, you can reference all of the obstacles and challenges that have been thrown in our faces by governments around the world. Whatever the case may be, I don't know how you've managed the last 20 months, but based on your current financial needs, would you prefer to be earning money more quickly or more slowly, or does it matter at all to you? And be quiet and listen for a response. And you'll be shocked at how many people say, well, if it's up to me, I'd rather make money quickly. I'd rather make money fast. Okay, well, that's great to hear, because what you've done is now you have just identified Mark as either as a customer or a business builder or a sharer. And remember, to become a mentor, you can sign 3 of either up. But for you to build out your matrix and your unilevel, what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for 3 people that are interested in earning from all of the bonuses CFX has, not just trading, because those are 3 people that are going to, by definition, go and repeat the same thing you've just done. And now you're creating an exponentially growing business. So if Mark says to me, I'd much rather earn fast, I say, well, listen, Mark, the reason I ask, and it sounds like a bit of a strange question, but there are multiple bonuses that I earn from that not everyone chooses to earn from. So I wanted to identify whether you had some significant financial needs, and if you did, I could help you meet all of them, or whether you don't, and simply participating hands off is more appropriate for you. That's it. Okay. All right. So that is, we're just going to wrap up really quickly here. Listen well. Listening is so important. People need to understand that you're concerned about them, that you care about them. And this is why we're on this journey together as entrepreneurs. We're not going to deal with fragile egos or hurt feelings. We are entrepreneurs. You're going to propel yourself beyond those things if you want to have success. This is about Mark. It's not about you. Okay. Pause before speaking. What our guests have to say is far more important than anything that we would say. Anything. If I'm about to say something and then Mark starts to talk, it doesn't matter if it's the best selling feature that CFX has to offer. I shut up. I want to hear everything that comes out of his mouth or her mouth. Okay. You need to show your interest and concern in them. What's going on in their lives? What kind of stress and anxiety are they under? And remember also, you need to identify if CFX is appropriate for filling their financial needs. If you really care, and they're in a circumstance where, well, I can't really think of a circumstance where it wouldn't help somebody, but in previous programs I've built that are physical product sales based, I would teach all the time, if you're talking to someone and this is not appropriate for them, you have to have the fortitude and the respect for the person that you're talking to and say, listen, I'd love for you to join my Herbalife business. I'd love for you to join my New Skin business, but it sounds to me you're very focused on what you're doing right now. You're passionate, your goals are set, and I just don't know if this is the right thing for you right now. And I said that to people all the time, and you have to show interest and concern. Rapport building and relationship building really matters. And then the last thing is you need to be okay with all outcomes. If they say, no, I'm sorry, this just isn't for me, you cannot have that drag you down. Okay. It's going to affect you and the way you build. You have to have respect for them, and whatever the outcome is exactly what it is. Okay. If you're angry or frustration, it's going to kill your success. It's going to erode away at it. It's going to undermine it. It's going to slow you down. All right. Last thing. And that is the benefit of having a practice partner. This is really important stuff because all of us in the very beginning, all of us, myself included, those very first phone calls that we make when we're inviting anyone to do or watch anything, there's apprehension. We feel nervous. So by actually having a buddy that you can phone and you can practice with, and they can phone and they can practice with you, it only takes minutes. But what happens is you take the script that you saw on the screen, you can pull up the recording off YouTube later on and take a screenshot of that, and then you retype that script in the language that you want to be sharing it in, that's most appropriate for you, that's going to feel like it's coming from you or it feels appropriate coming from you. And then you practice that. And you practice and you practice and you practice. And you're going to get really good at it. And you're going to get really good at rolling with excuses. And you're going to get really good at rolling with delays. And you're going to get really good at answering questions. There are only so many questions. And over time, you will have heard all of them 100 times. And if you do those things, you will become a member of the President's Club. That's one of the things that's so great about this platform and this simple strategy is the things that you need to get good at are such an incredibly short list that the likelihood of anyone listening to this being able to climb through the ranks and reach their financial goals is extremely high.